Hello, good evening. Thank you very much for coming, and thank you very much for being with us online. How are you? Fine, thanks. Thank you. I would like to start with an opinion poll. Please raise your hand if you liked elementary school. And please raise your hand if you liked high school. Less and less. And please raise your hand if you liked university or college. 4 people left. So, and what about you, Leonard? Did you like your school?
All 3 of them? Or so I think it depends. I liked actually elementary schools. And that's also what I expected, that we start with elementary school, the most say yes. Then later on secondary school, less say yes. And then the higher it gets, we at the end have nobody. That was at least the case in mine, because I lost actually fun with school.
Yes, but actually it was a tricky question from me, because you are German, but you graduated from the University of Florence, Italy. So why? What happened?
Well, actually, the graduation was in Germany, so I did studying there, but it was, in my case, was a pretty spontaneous decision. I just liked the city, and then I said, yeah, let's go there. So it was a pretty inspirational idea to go there. It's not rational.
Okay, so I think now this is the best moment to start with the most basic question. Who are you? How would you introduce yourself?
So I'm actually, my name is Leonard Sommer. I'm actually married with my wife Birgit and have 2 children, so that's the private life. I am actually an entrepreneur. I funded a creative agency with my smaller brother. He's the left side of the brain, I'm the right side of the brain. And we still have that agency in business, and today I'm actually Vice President Marketing and Sales of Zauber. That's a Berlin-based augmented reality company. And actually passion-wise, I would say that I'm kind of that's Christoph is saying, always a movement maker and troublemaker in education. And my mission is more or less to bring people together actually from also other industries, also in other branches, to help, to inspire actually education in school to foster creativity. And I started to finish the story. Is why I did that is I had been more or less found that maybe there was a star falling from the sky actually. I did my MBA in creative leadership at the Berlin School of Creative Leadership, and this project is actually my master thesis. So that comes actually from the study in the MBA.
Okay, and just some information to the audience. So now I am supposed to ask 1 or 2 more questions to Leonard, and then a lecture will follow, delivered by Leonard from that point. And then we will go upstairs just to have an interactive workshop with Kristóf and with his colleagues, and then a Q&A session will follow also upstairs. So be with us, stay with us. And just to start, I mean, this creativity issue or subject. So experts say that the educational approach hasn't changed for the last 150 years, so since the Industrial Revolution. So the system is like students are sitting in front of the teacher, and the teacher is supposed to deliver the content, and the students are supposed to uptake it or memorize it. So this is the system. And why do you think this is the highest moment to reform or to change this kind of educational system, and why creativity is the clue or the key element?
I mean, the bad thing is that it's not today. It would have been good that we would have done that already 20 years ago. So it's already more than time. And the thing is actually that, and I will put this also pretty illustrative in my presentation actually, that the world is changing almost every second. So it's changing dramatically. And we just don't prepare or didn't even prepare actually the Gen Z also to be prepared for change actually, and to learn. So they are learned to be prepared for the next test, but not to learn, because they need, and the thing is, we discussed that yesterday evening as well actually, it's not the kids, it's all of us. We all need to learn every day and need to change. And that's the thing, and I think that's also a topic of the EU. It's really important. It's like, creativity is one of the future skills. It's only one, actually. I mean, emotional skills, also social intelligence, and all these. It's a set of skills, but creativity is probably the one that's also very important for economics and also for the, let's say, for the working life, because we are, everybody of us already today is working and needs to solve problems that we don't know. So we need to solve problems that everybody don't know. And in the school, they prepare us to solve problems of 10 years ago. And that's kind of, but I will come back to that point in the presentation as well. That's my opinion, at least.
Okay, I give you the floor. So the floor is yours.
Okay.
Just let's start with the details.
Thank you. I think we need these microphones for some of my assistants later on, because I have some people here in the crowd.
Oh, really? Or even mine.
Otherwise, we choose another one, but tell me in the next 5 minutes, because I don't want to... Okay, cool. So, first of all, great that you're all here. I'm excited actually to be and to share with you my thoughts and let's say the secrets of the project. And also to present and to also introduce Kristóf. You heard the name Kristóf, and also his colleagues actually. He's one of the let's say movement maker as well, who's part of the project we're talking about, and they are actually from the University of Jyväskylä, I hope I pronounce it right, from Finland, and he's an education expert, I'm not, no? So I'm only a creative guy, but exactly, yeah, so like in school, right? Okay, good. So is that upsa? Okay, so what are your feelings now? I think it's even worse than... Okay, but let's start actually with the first lesson. It's the first lesson of history of today. It's actually my own history. So let me tell you actually how I was introduced to creativity. As children, actually, my brother Gordon and I had the privilege of spending, and that's, for me, it's really a privilege, of spending a lot of time in an international artist community, of almost doing nothing, having really adventures there. And we grew up actually as children of two creative and non-conformist personalities, actually. My mother was an art teacher, my father was an art architect. And pretty much every summer of our childhood, we had a lighthearted and adventurous time in the ruins of the Italian mountain village. Give you some expressions actually, with a lot of freedom actually of the inspiring environment of the ruins actually of this Busana Vecchia, it's called. We grew up in a small bubble of creativity in the middle of a community of international artists. And between 71 and 76, even without electricity and water. So it's pretty inconformal, but actually with a lot of creativity space and little tendency to conformity. And like many children with a rather creative disposition, I sometimes had my problems at school in Germany, so to answer your question more clear also, with the rules actually in the classroom. For my brother Gordon actually, he's, as I mentioned, the left brain, it was a little easier. But we were fortunate actually, however, that our parents gave us plenty of creative development opportunities at home. And probably this helped us also right after school to take immediately risks. So really to say, come on, let's just build up a business and let's just do it. And not thinking about, could we fail or could we not? So we just did it. It might be, that's my hypothesis. And we had been lucky then, and that's what I mentioned already, just to build up really fast also one of the, at this time, fastest growing advertising agencies. And it's the same like actually in advertising. Since then, the world changed a lot. So you see this 94 television spots. Today it's TikTok. It's changed tremendously. And let's take also some other examples actually. Since in the last 20 years of music actually history, 21 actually, the music exchange platform Napster still had 80 million users. Less than 7 years later, it was almost at zero. Since 2001, iTunes and the iPod revolutionized the music industry. And then, actually, some years later, nobody's talking about the iPod. Today, we leave the field, need to leave the field to the current giant Spotify. So it's just some years, no discs, nothing anymore. A lot of change. And these are just only some examples. I mean, we're not talking about GPT-3 or anything else, and that overall is actually change as well. So the triumphant advance actually of digital technologies is proceeding at the speed of light actually. And innovations are growing and developing at a rapid pace every minute. So technologies have turned billions of people around the globe into users in just a few decades. So only to be replaced shortly afterwards by innovations that move entire generations against a new couple of behaving, so totally new behaviors. And at the same time, many of these technologies pose every new challenge to all of humanity that none of us had previously encountered in this form. So sometimes we all have the feeling that time is passing more quickly than it used to. And in this field, actually, my children, Marlon and Miller, actually, they are growing up in a time that is without doubt the most dynamic age of change in the history of mankind. And probably tomorrow, or even in the next hour, it will be even more faster. So they differ, actually, in many ways from generations before them. They have grown up with digital technology and learned to use it from an early age, and therefore take it for granted. I think everybody of us knows when you ask your kids, they just answer it in minutes when you need an explanation of tech, because it's so simple for them. And they know actually a world that changes from hour to hour, second to second, and innovation to innovation. The question is actually, how do we prepare a child for that? How do we prepare them? And this is actually now my second history, and I want to talk about the innovation in school. And that's going to be pretty slow, you will see. So let's take a look just together at this that we just spoke about some minutes ago, actually. So repetition, rules, and desk time, actually, it was at the turn of the 19th century that schooling for the masses had been invented. The aim was to improve citizenship, to cultivate higher order traits, and to train people for the skills needed for rapid economic modernization. That's what school was invented for. It was a fantastic innovation. What they found actually was, and that was 1820, they had a radical idea. It was really radical at that time. And to provide the newly industrialized societies with educated workers, the school system offered a basic education for all. And teaching approaches made use of standard repetitive exercises. One master teacher could teach hundreds of children at the same time. That was 1820. Did we change? It changed a lot, yet, but I think probably not enough. And in these 100 years, actually, we went from Model T to Tesla, from switchboards to smartphones. But let's face it, the principles of the most schools we know today had been innovated a long time today, and nothing's changed since that. That's at least my opinion. But let's take a break. So assuming that Henry Ford, Bill Gates, and Steve Jobs had been taught in the school based on the same principles, why don't we just go on? And just also the son of Elon Musk, we just go on. No sense of urgency, it worked. No, we couldn't, actually, in my opinion. So it's pretty obvious, actually, today we find ourselves in the conceptual age and not anymore in the industrial age. It's the era of the idea, and digitization actually represents a major break with the power of working skills, and not working skills, also social and emotional skills that are guided actually in the past in schools by rational skills such as logic, numerals, and these things. That's over. So,
this is a film about the future, but not mine. knows what the future is really going to be like. The rise of information and communication technologies is dramatically altering how society works and how global cultures interact. Today's children will become adults who engage in a world vastly different from what we know today. They'll need to solve problems beyond our current understanding using skill sets that are yet to be defined with tools that are yet to be created. How do you prepare a child for that?
I can't give you an answer, actually, and I will not today. I think maybe Kristóf can, but he's saying no. But first of all, before I'm getting positive, let's take a look in the research. And again, we have that sound. Which is one of the most important future skills? And again, it's an answer, actually, on your question. And it's not new. Already in 2010, over 900 executives surveyed defined creativity as the most important leadership skill. And that was 13 years ago. Probably it's not the first study. And Adobe actually conducted also the State of the Create Global Benchmark study in April 2016. And the results actually were shocking, actually. According to the study, the 5 largest economic powers in the world already had a creativity deficit at that time. So they knew. And the dilemma, actually, 59% of respondents blamed the education system for this. I'm purpose talking about the system, not about school. Because you can change school. But the system takes too long. But there are potentials really to help. And again, that's what you're doing, change school. And I want to go back even in a study that's from 1968. And that was that's the study that inspired me actually to write the book also. And it's the study from George Land and Beth Jarman, actually. They found out the following. It's like they tested 1,600 children aged from 3 to 5. And they were giving the creativity test that the NASA actually used to recruit talented engineers and scientists. And the same test was repeated 3 times with the same children, each time 5 years later, until the students were 25 years old. And the results showed that everyone with normal cognitive development in childhood has a similar high creative potential, but it decreases with age. And the researchers came to the logical conclusion that uncreative behavior is learned at school. I might think that a lot of you know Ken Robinson. That's actually his hypothesis also. And the children lost their curiosity and interest in the world during their school years because they were rationalized. That's what the researchers say. And the cause of this rationalization was the school's focus on getting the right answer and the pressure the school created, grades and doing the right thing. And on the one hand, students learn to meet certain standards, yes, and that's also important. But the longer they stayed in school, it seems, the less they felt challenged to look for the alternative solutions. Moreover, they were taught that they could make mistakes when pursuing alternative paths, which in turn led to poor results in assessments and evaluations. And in business, we just said that we need to try out and to fail to solve problems that we don't know yet. And interestingly, and that's a totally new study. I did this study actually this January because I wanted to understand what actually are the young people saying today. If you ask actually the Gen Z and ask them what do they think about the situation in school. And I'm advising also one of the biggest TikTok agencies in Germany. They have a fantastic tool of research via WhatsApp groups, and they have 180,000 people in there. And you could get in 72 hours answers from more than 5,000 people actually. And what we asked them actually, so it's actually a set of 4,424 young people actually in the age of 14 and 26 to really understand actually what are your thoughts actually. So can you bring your own ideas to learning in your school? And 76.6% say no, I can't bring it because I need to deliver the right solutions. No, and it's even worse than my research in 2012 that's in the book. And next thing that we wanted to find out is also if we ask them, what do you think, how important is creativity in working life today? And they're going to say, okay, today it's like 6.2, so it's an index, and in the future it will be probably 7 to 3 in an index of 10. That's what the kids share with us. And then we wanted to know, what do you think? What is the reason? So why actually school is suppressed? And so we went actually with this survey, and you don't know these numbers, Christoph, already, because that's exactly the same study that's in the book from 10 years before. So ranked number 1 actually is 72% say the school system demands predetermined solutions. So actually they want to hear from me what I just filtered in and just have a multiple say, yeah, that's right, to get the best grade. So that's number 1. Number 2 is actually they are forced to do everything right, and this creates fear of mistakes, so fear of failure. And that's also the reason why I have this t-shirt on, because it's mainly the culture that might be changing. Place number 3 is actually learning as a team is not encouraged. You need to be ego to be good, very often. No? A lot of schools change, but not enough. And project-based learning is allowed a lot, but mainly the principals are focused on that. That's also the opinion of them. Number 4 is classrooms do not provide an inspiring learning environment. They are mainly talking about also about the architecture and the inspiring environment. Number 5 is at least 1 of 4 say that the overloaded curriculum focused on knowledge leaves little time for ideas. I don't know how that here is in Hungary, but in Germany they decided, I think it's 10 years ago, also to cut 1 year off. So we had 13 years and now we have 12, but the curriculum is not really smaller. So it's, and that's what we also see with our kids actually. It's just too much facts they need to learn. So let's be positive actually. So what are kids, and Jen said, what are they saying actually? How could you promote actually creativity? And number 1 is actually 72% believe that more school time should be allocated to creative thinking and creative projects actually, so that they are inspired by different methods and also really project-based learning. Number 2 is actually, that's 70% believe in learning together as a team to solve problems more creatively. Number 3 is actually, they would like to see a learning culture that allows for mistakes from which they can learn. And place 4, teachers could be trained to recognize and promote alternative solutions, and recognize and promote alternative solutions, so that even the coaches are allowed to do that. Interesting for me was that already here on place 5, actually, they mentioned technology. That's pretty like AI and also AR, but mainly also I think that's something that comes mainly from GPT-3, that at least also smashed over in Germany over the schools. And interestingly also my daughter used it, I think that was like 2 weeks after I read in news. They just tried it out even before me. And that's also something, it flew over students and also in school and universities, even before it came to professional life, because everybody wants to play with it, no? So that's the research so far. And talking about the project, actually, that my actually passion background also about the book is, I founded actually the Classroom Think Tank initiative already years ago, and as mentioned, I did that combined with the master thesis actually in the Berlin School of Creative Leadership. And the Berlin School is actually a school in Berlin that is has the mission to form from creative professionals, actually creative leaders. So you learn really to step back and to give space to people around you instead of just saying, oh, my ideas are the best. That's very often in advertising, that you think you have the best ideas. And especially when you're crafting so far. So it's a fantastic school, and I actually did the thesis there. And as part of the master thesis, I became curious about the topic actually, what would happen actually if you give the creative professionals actually space and just ask them, how would a school look like that fosters creativity instead of conformity when you can change everything? So just gave them space, and it's copywriters, it's filmmakers, but also education innovators then, and just give them the room to then also put up the hypothesis, what could schools eventually learn from creative industry? it's interesting because I have a lot now discussions also with teachers and school leaders, and I expected also more a wall between educators and let's say, oh, that's a professional so far, but it's really lovely and wonderful to see that that there's really an invitation also, and that there are not these bare borders actually that I expected, because initially it was like this guy don't knows anything about education. What is he doing here? But it's really changing so far. I mean, I have experts in there, but like you do. But it's really an open culture that brought up to me. So the idea was actually to ask, as mentioned, like professionals, and I reached out to 100 creatives, or more than 100 creatives of 35 countries. So in the book actually is people from everywhere, Finland, from Colombia, from the US, Canada, and so on. That's also why it's so interesting to inspire with not only different branches and also professionals, but also different cultures and so far. And interestingly, you hear the most, it's mainly the same culture from everywhere and the same problems they feel so far of it needs to be changed. And it's when you actually put all these ideas in a certain framework, they all also at the end fit together. It doesn't matter where they're coming from. Okay, so that's actually coming to the book project, and I want to give you the voice actually to a kid so far.
How can an education system designed for the industrial age still be relevant in the 21st century? Let's take a look at some numbers. 65% of today's children will grow up to work in jobs that don't yet exist. 60% of managers see creativity as tomorrow's most important skill, but 85% believe that creativity is suppressed in schools. Come to inspire a vision of schools that foster creativity, with room for children's minds to develop outside-of-the-box thinking, with teachers who guide creativity instead of conformity, with lessons that prepare them for the unexpected as well as the expected. I want to know, what could the education system learn from the creative industry?
So this is actually then the outcome of, now I'm going to be positive. And the good thing is also the whole book, only the first chapter is so negative as I did now. Because all the ideas, and that was interesting for me also, and mainly also the most likeful thing was that I think a lot of people took a lot of time and passion and really said, yeah, I want to participate and just give actually and take time and bring it in there. And some people even wrote up to 15, 14 pages as, for example, the chairman of DDB. It's one of the biggest creative agencies in New York. And he took his time and said, yeah, I want to sit down. So it's really, even if they don't get any money for that, but it was kind of a purpose and passion project for everybody. And actually, then with the book, actually, I asked an alumni of mine of the Berlin School if he could design the book, actually, because I thought it needs to be really kind of a beautiful book as well. And he came up with an interesting cover idea and said, we can't just do a cover that's normal. So he came up with a cover actually where every reader, and that's also, I want to invite everybody of you as well, everybody can design a cover, send it in, and then it's part of the augmented reality cover a day later on. So on the book right now, it's about 40 covers actually, from children, 3-year, 4-year-old children, teachers, students, creatives, whatever. And if anybody sends in a cover, the next day it's part of this augmented reality cover as well. And that's and that's important. It's not about delivering a good cover. It's your creativity. It doesn't matter how it is. There are some rules about the typography, but it's not judged. No? So just share some. This is the 3-year-old. Very diverse also. I assume also that I'm going to get some covers also in the next time from DALL-E and AI generated, but let's see. So actually, then go through some, if we're going to go through some chapters actually. So the first chapter actually of the book is definitely, and these are some parts that are just presented actually, is really to give an analysis about the challenge, and also about the challenge that we are not still there, but we just arrived in conceptual age. Then the next chapter actually is really about giving space to wide ideas actually about for the creative industry and also for the creative people, and to show actually also, and that's the main inspirator actually for me was Ken Robinson actually, who unfortunately died I think it's 2 years ago, and giving also the voice to great researchers that identified the problem as well. And the second chapter actually gives then space really, and we had also the first workshop actually, Kristóf, was at the Cannes Lions Festival already in 2013, 14. The Cannes Lions Festival is, I think it's the biggest advertising festival in Cannes, 2 weeks after the film festival. And it was fantastic. We had almost 86 people from all over the world, and also there, and in the group, interestingly, there have been also professors in an advertising festival and educators, and also here really a lot of passion and just to focus on the problems and to give and to inspire at the end. Then we have a chapter actually that focuses really on how to nurture an environment of creativity at home, and that's one point that I didn't expect or think about this when I started the project, is that the main educators, because we're talking always about teachers, but due to the fact that kids are almost more than 80% at home of their childhood, it's not only the teachers, and very often you forget that the parents are the main educators, because very often we have the mentality, yeah, let's outsource it. School needs to do it. So parents are mainly on the same role. So, and we have a fantastic, inspiring piece of Patrick Newell in here, who wrote a book also about what you could do at home to nurture creativity. Then there's one chapter, and now I want to have somebody helping me here in the crowd. Actually, there's one chapter about culture change. So, what do we need to do? And there's an interesting piece. Don't be nervous; it's somebody else. It's an interesting piece of Keith Reinhardt, who's the chairman actually of DDB from New York, or he was the chairman, he's now emeritus. And he shared actually and did the experiment to transfer the culture principles of DDB on school. And I want to have you actually, do you have a microphone actually? Wonderful. To share actually his thoughts with us. Thank you for doing that.
Okay, first, the freedom from fear. It is said that talent freezes when in the grip of fear. In the words of DDB, the creative mind shut down, constricting the natural flow of words and ideas. Schools that wish to encourage creativity should feature classrooms that are free from fear of being labeled or compared or categorized, free from intimidation by teachers who see themselves as tough and demanding task makers. Lying hard ideas is backed up academically. In the words of Bruce D. Perry, PhD, an internationally recognized authority on brain development. Optimal learning is driven by curiosity, which leads to exploration, discovery, practice, and mastery. In turn, mastery leads to pleasure, satisfaction, and confidence to once again explore. The more a child experiences this cycle of wonder, the more it can create a lifelong excitement and love of learning. The cycle of wonder, however, can be stopped by fear. The fear response is deeply ingrained in the human brain. Under the threat of any kind, hunger, thirst, pain, shame, confusion, or too much, too new, or too fast, we respond in ways to keep us safe. Our minds will focus only on the information that is, at the moment, important for survival. Fear kills curiosity and inhibits exploration. Second, freedom to fail. DDB acknowledges that it is the nature of creative talent to venture beyond the known, to pick its way through scary places untrod by conventional minds, Reinhard explains. And because there are no assurance that these ideas-searching patrols will succeed, the seekers must be granted the latitude to fail in order to sustain their willingness to try it again. Reinhard said, the overall rule of the creativity is be prepared to look foolish. So children should be encouraged to say what they think and express their true feelings of absent of fear that they will be laughed at or derided by their peers. And they should understand that it's okay to fail if one is exploring uncharted territory. Scholars should learn and be inspired by the great innovators in history, whose success came only after failing.
Number 3 and number 4.
Yes. So the third, the freedom from chaos. In the DDB culture, this refers to the kind of chaos that results from management indecision, vacillation, arrogance, and uncertainty. Quote, in the classroom, chaos might be created by class size, too many students per teacher, or by labs that are too small for all students to conduct experiments. Or chaos can be created by lack of clarity as to what exactly is expected of the student, or by inconsistency in communicating that understanding, says Reinhard. And the fourth one, the freedom to be. DDB proclaims that each individual has the right to be treated with dignity, to be supported in his or her ambitions for higher achievement, and to be provided with a place where a career can grow in the direction of one's own choosing. Keith Reinhardt's lesson for educators from this insight is that every effort should be made to celebrate individually and oppose conformity, and that, as much as possible, education experiences and environments should be adapted to the development path of the individual instead of insisting that the individual adapt to a standard curriculum. Keith Reinhardt also has a wonderful idea of how to launch this new culture. Quote, when we formed the community that is now DDB worldwide, I gave each board member a small plant that then asked board members to make their plants grow. It was a simple, perhaps simplistic reminder that you cannot command a plant to grow, you cannot instruct a plant to grow, you must provide it with an environment that inspires and stimulates growth. Likewise, you cannot command creativity in the workplace, nor in the classroom, nor can you instruct it, you must inspire and nurture it. So, I would give every teacher a plant as a reminder that children need to be nurtured and provided with the right learning environment. And I would inspire them with the quotation from Louis Thomas, a biologist who was head of Memorial Sloan Cancer Center in New York, and who wrote wonderful little essays on biology. In one of those essays, he provided what I believe is the best advice and I have ever encountered for building a creative environment. Said Thomas, if you want a bee to make honey, you do not issue protocols or carbohydrate chemistry, nor memoranda on solar navigation. You do what you can to arrange the air around the hive, and when the air is right, the science will come. When the air in the classroom is right, the creativity will come. So I would ask each teacher to embrace the idea, Thomas expressed about bees making honey and apply it to children becoming creative.
Thank you, both of you. Wonderful. So it's just main cultural change we see. Then readers of the book will find also inspiring answers also of the important question actually what you could do actually as a teacher. So what's the future role of the teacher in the future? And as mentioned also about the parents. And another chapter which is, that's a pretty, was fascinating for me to see that a lot of the people who bought the book in Germany last year, I brought it up in German, is that you see the readers, they have a lot of post-its in there and they really take the book and work with it in the classroom. So, because there are also a lot of methods in there to really take it out and just say, just try it out. Just try out a method and just do it in the classroom. And I have actually then again 2 people, and this is a short people just to share 2 interesting methods also about the book. There's one in your hand actually, you want to share that? Do you have the microphone? Yeah. Thank you for doing this.
Thanks. The brain race, a relay race of ideas. The brain race takes place between 2 stations. 3 members of each group have to run to a target around 100 meters away from the stations. Once they arrive, they are posed a question or task. They think of answers running all the way back, then, after completing the 100-meter run, write them down for immediate submission. One participant remains at station 2 to collect ideas at the end. The technique. At station 1, the relay participant writes 10 ideas on their sheet in response to the task. They run with this sheet to station 2 and submit it there. Then they run back to station 1, the next person runs to station 2, and the cycle begins again. All the while, the participant who remains at station 2 throughout awards each legible idea 1 point. They can also add any ideas of their own.
You need to do it. We did it in the agency also with adults. It's really fun. So it's really funny. So and there's another one. That's the last one. Thanks also for everybody supporting me here. It's a really short one. I think it should be. Do you have that? Thank you for doing this for me.
Train to fail, error training. The first step is to jointly define typical errors. When completing a task, the pupil then deliberately chooses to make one of these errors. The solutions are then marked based on their originality, with marks detracted for conformity.
Thank you. Good. So methods in there. Then actually, this idea I jump over that, Kristóf. That's you want to take a photo of it. I think it's not your stage, but so jumping over it. It's not your time. Then actually, that's for me one of the darkest chapter I can school. It's assessment and grades. I think you've had the feeling already. Interestingly, also here are some solutions. For example, there's an author who transferred actually the principles of award shows to education. So what would be if we use the award principles from Cannes Lions actually to school? Or actually, this is from Mr. Lucas from the UK. Actually, it's an assessment of creativity. So really self-assessment. And in the new book actually that comes out next year, there's a German author who writes a whole book about why grades didn't work and don't work. So it's psychologically really interesting also. And this for me, let's say the best chapter and also the most interesting interviews actually have been with people, leaders and founders of schools who are doing it today already. And it's really so fantastic to see places where the kids are so fascinated about learning and really have fun. Schools that already today allow students to discover what they enjoy to finally develop their individual creative, academic and divergent thinking skills. This is one, for example, the Blue School in New York is funded by the founders of the Blue Man Group. It's a theater group, this musical group. And they actually transported the whole principles of the show to a school. So the Blue School. And they just doing the same fun than in the show in school. Then Kristóf knows more about this school actually because he has been invited there as well. It's Colegio Hacienda de los Pagos in Colombia, or Blue Sky School in Ottawa is pretty inspiring. This is a visual school from Sweden actually, from Södermalm. And I love this, Kristóf, actually. You can just hang around and learn however they want to learn. It's maybe, Kristóf, can you share two sentences about this, because it's so fantastic.
Jukka Sinnemäki is a school who is actually a fluent Hungarian and visiting Hungary very often. And he really focusing the needs of the kids, and in the age of neurodiversity and in the age of children, it's very hard to sit in one place. And he just follow this need of movement and excitement of the kids, and combine the learning space with a lot of opportunities to move around.
Thank you. It's fantastic. And the Iowa Big School is one of the winners also of the competition of Laureen Powell Jobs, which is the widow of Steve Jobs. Actually, she had a competition in the US where she was looking for the super school actually. And it's a only project-based school where the main principals also, they take kids at the same level as adults. So they don't treat them as kids. It's just only, you're on the same importance. And we just, whenever we have an idea, we just try it out. We don't tell you that you could fail, because very often adults think, oh, this couldn't work. And he told me, we've been so surprised very often. They just come back and say, yeah, we solved it. It was not a problem. They just did it. So it's fantastic also, the Iowa Big School. And lastly, and that's a chapter that is enlarged now, I think up to 40 pages in the new edition, is about really technologies. So what could be done with VR, with AI and AR so far, and what's the influence of creativity and on creativity? It's yes, it's on the craft. It's a tremendous revolution, and especially as me, I loved also drawing all these kind of things. What you can do with AI, it's also critical. But if you use it in a certain manner, you know how to use it. It's also a fantastic opportunity to create something new. No? And I have one project also that's the last thing I want to share with you. It's also a new. Of the new edition, it's called My Machine. I want to share a video because I think it gives so much emotional about this fantastic method. Just see if it works.
Our world is evolving all the time. Unexpected events on a local or global scale disrupt our lives. The fourth industrial revolution is giving us opportunities, yet is also attacking jobs. And an even much bigger wave is hitting our shores: climate change. Navigating through this ever-changing environment is challenging. More than ever before, we will have to rely on new ideas, new concepts, new answers. And these come from people who are confident to use their imagination, to think outside of silos, and to be inspired by the possibility to improve our society. This is not the privilege of a handful of intelligent, brave, and lucky women or men. All of us can do this, as long as we have had the possibility to learn this in a supporting ecosystem. This is where My Machine brings an impactful solution. Our unique and multi-award-winning methodology unites all educational levels in 3 steps. Step 1. Children in primary schools invent their dream machine. Anything goes, as long as they really, really want it. Then, university students help them design a concept. And in step 3, technical or vocational secondary school students help build an actual working prototype. Primary school children inspire the older students with their creative powers and creative confidence that they still have within them. University students show that solutions come from looking for the right angle to a challenge. And the technical secondary students display their skills by improving the technical side of the design, ensuring the production of the working prototype is safe, smooth, effective, and within budget. While they work for months on bringing ideas to life, like the clean up my room machine or the homework making machine, they use mathematics and physics and all the other knowledge they need for this inspiring endeavor. And all students learn along the way that nothing comes easy. That bringing an idea to life means you will need to rely on teamwork, empathy, respect for each other's talents, and being persistent and resilient. While co-creating these dream machines is so much hard work, it is also so much fun. Can you imagine how much joy they find in creating a party dance machine, a massage machine, a chase away the bad ghost from under my bed machine, or a turning bunk bed, better known as the never have to discuss anymore who gets to sleep on top machine? We know that taking those dream machine ideas seriously means the world to all participating children. Wherever life takes them, dance, engineering, plumbing, IT, fashion, law, filmmaking, management, community building or space technology, one of the most instrumental skills to bring you happiness and to make you thrive is learning that you can bring any idea to life. No matter the scope of your vision, whether it's something personal, local or global, making it happen starts with the creative confidence that your ideas matter, that your ideas can make a difference. That is how we will see a lot more of us doing a lot more to shape this better future we all need to design together.
You need to know Pete, the founder. When I saw the movie the first time, I was almost crying. It's really emotional, and so actually, and that's the ending of my presentation. Keeping in mind actually that this collection of ideas from creatives from around the globe, and I'm assuming also creatives is not creative professionals, it's educators and everybody. Actually, I consider that this collation of this work is an ongoing process, and as such invite all of you also, if you have an idea, share it with me and send it to me for the next edition, because I also want to try every year to update it, and so even the more crazy the better. And that's it from my side. And if you're interested in the book, so right now there's an English edition and there's a German edition, and you can find it on this website, and that's it from my side. So thank you for your attention, and I'm looking forward to questions and the workshop. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And just a question, yes, you can sit next to me if you want, if you dare. And is it your first time, Leonard, in Hungary?
Why do you know that?
Really?
Yeah.
It was just out of the blue. So you don't know the Hungarian educational system, I guess.
Probably it's the double innovative as the German, no?
Yes, the Prussian style.
I was today, he invited me to the MOME actually. I was totally flashed. I was just, what is this here? It's so innovative, and it's incredible. So if your school is like that, the school system, I'm quiet. So.
Unluckily not, yes. But you said we have the same issues in every country. For instance, in Europe as well, you guess. But we have Finland also, and experts say that in Finland there is the best education in the world. So I just would like to invite Kristóf to join us.
Yeah, that's a good force.
And just speak a bit. So first, introduce yourself, please, shortly.
So my name is Kristóf Fenyvesi. I'm a researcher in the Finnish Institute for Educational Research, but I'm Hungarian, obviously, and I'm happy to be the colleague of Leo for many years now, and many years in the future as well, as we know it.
So, and why Finnish education is so good?
Well,
in 2 sentences, phrases.
Because you're Hungarian, no?
Okay, I would say that Finnish education is better than several other in general, in average. And I think there are many reasons for that. One of them is the equal accessibility. So education is really implemented to overcome the social inequalities. Education is the place for social transformation, social transition, shift in society, and learning is the key for this shift, and also building values such as trust. And I could continue on this line for a long, but equal access, trust, social mobility, education for all, best education for all. I would say very simply, these are the keys.
Yes?
May I add something? I spoke yesterday with the ambassador of Finland about this. I had the pleasure yesterday to actually was interested in and ask him, because I read in the newspaper in Germany that the positioning of the teacher job in Finland, and that was fascinating for me, is more or less, it's positioned as the one who's creating the future next generation. So this is really something we say, whoa, that's a good job. And if in Germany you're on a party and you say, I'm a teacher, they're going to say, the one who's doing 6 weeks holidays in the year. Okay. So it's just, is that the truth, what they wrote about this positioning?
This is the truth, but this is also on stake nowadays, and it's really a conflict zone, like in everywhere. So Finland is not different in these terms.
Because that's the appreciation of this job. I think that's one of the main issues, also of the many issues that I think it should be. I mean, you can talk about money so far, but also about the appreciation of the society, actually, to do this wonderful job. No?
Professionalism, authority, so the teachers are trusted also. So there is no inspection in the schools, because teachers are inspecting themselves and each other. So they are professional in making reflection, and professional in education research, professional in education development, and they are trusted and paid for this.
And let's have a wider view, because you have a colleague, actually you have two, but she's coming from Hungary, but you have Takumi coming from Japan, and I'm interested in this topic. So just also in few sentences, what is the difference? So how is the Japanese education? So could we just have a comparison? So is it as strict as the German, or stricter, or?
I think the Japanese education is one of the most strictest education in the world. So yeah, compared to Finland, it's quite different. Yeah.
So and what are you doing in Finland? So what is your job there?
Yeah, I'm a researcher about the education leadership. So my focus is on the leadership in schools. But I think the leadership is not only for the leaders, but also the members in the organization. So leadership should be distributed or shared among the people in the school, not only the teachers, but also even students. So, yep.
Thank you very much. And just one more question. So creativity is a skill for the future's Europe, but what other skills do we need in the future? What do you think? Yes, be creative.
I think it's emotional intelligence, social skills, and also, I don't know if it's a skill, Kristóf, to understand what's real and what's fake. So really to analyze and to find out what's the truth. It might be something that's really important in the future, because we just don't know where the sources are coming from when I'm putting anything else in the AI machine, whatever. So these are something that I...
Usually this is called as creative thinking, critical thinking,
Okay.
critical thinking as a skill.
You're the professional,
yeah. Actually, I always tell this, maybe my colleagues are already bored about this, that it's time to talk about kreativitást in a plural way, because there is the myth of creativity, which is really against creativity, I think, because to be creative, to become ourselves, that means to not following one single pattern and not being on a certain way, but becoming ourselves, becoming different. And this means to have infinite kind of creativities, and these creativities are not always contributing to those processes what we want to implement, for example, in a work life or in a learning process. So the real creative challenge for a teacher, I think, to find a way to all these different creativities, to involve these different creativities into some meaningful and happy process to contribute to the well-being, this diversity. And when we are talking about future, of course, AI, this chat GPT, what was mentioned several times, also raised the question more radically than before, the outplacement, right? That what are those professions which won't be needed also in your field, in marketing? This becomes a huge threat now. However, outplacement also means reskilling. And I think we really arrived to the age of learning and teaching, because this was already told some years ago, that why to learn programming, for example. When you will use the AI, you won't program the AI. There will be very few people who will program the AI, but you will teach the AI. So to teach and to learn, these are really those skills, I think, what we need to become professionals, and learning to learn. That can be a really great function of school, and learning creatively, that can be.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. I think also that, and that's also when, as a creative leader, it's a skill, asking the right questions. So really bringing a focus on what's the right question for the machine, or also for a group or a team, right? Yes. To inspire. That's much more important than the craft, actually. And I think especially if you have a creative team, right? So, and that's a skill as well.
So what we teach and how we teach, I mean, it's like to be transformed in the next few years. We will see, and creativity is the key. On that way, actually now let's go upstairs and see it in practice. I mean, your method, the famous classroom think tank method, invited by you, and just you can join us and smile because we are here for a very good play beforehand. A very good play, I think.
Actually, you must join if I would dare.
Yes. So you are obliged.
Because I see in the room like 60 different creativities already, almost 60. So we will all need your various creativities to contribute to what? What's going to happen upstairs?
Yeah, we're going to actually want to find out some, let's say, inspirations. Ideas maybe too much, but get some inspirations about how a school could be changed to foster creativity. And what we prepared upstairs is, we'll explain it when we're up there with and at the table, is actually we prepared, I think, 6 or 7 questions to inspire you. And it's the methodology is called speed ideation, and it's more or less, it's pretty fun actually. You will have 2 or 3 minutes then with loud music that is from modern talking up to AC/DC, up to Bavarian Schlager, whatever. So really weird stuff.
Can we dance also?
I'm not sure I want to go up. I'm not sure I'm brave enough.
So that we don't debate, but that we just write everything that we have in our head. And with each song actually that ends, you move to the left side and you then read what your neighbor wrote before. So ideas putting then inspire your ideas. And at the end, afterwards, when we are ready, we will try to form groups and just present actually in, what do you think, like 4 or 5 groups actually, the inspirations or ideas. And every idea is right, nothing's wrong, so let's see what comes out. If nothing comes out, we just had fun and had the idea party. But I think that's also the most important thing, that we just have some fun up there, and because that will get the
Let's
best
face
output.
with those Bavarian schlagers. Would you like to join upstairs?
I think that's only for everybody's on site here. I think the remote session is ending here, no? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
This session, yes, but we will continue. So follow the yellow umbrella,
So thanks to everybody who
which
joined
is invisible.
remotely, yeah.